Welcome back to Hardball. Joining me now, New York Times Nobel Prize winning columnist Paul Krugman, whose new book is called The Return of Depression Economics, The Crisis of 2008. Just tell me, sir, congratulations, by the way, on winning a Nobel. Are we going into a Great Depression again? Is it that bad?
I don't think so, but I'm not 100% sure of that. It's certainly going to be the worst thing since the Great Depression. This is going to be, this is really bad. It may not be, I don't know if we're going to have guys selling apples on the streets, but it's going to be really very bad and much worse if we don't have an effective response.
How long is this deflation going to work? Are we going to reach the point like they did in the Great Depression, where it was more expensive to make something than you could sell it for? The prices were so low they didn't even reach the cost of production, and that's why you did throw things on the ground.
Well, that's happening already in some resource sectors. There's a lot of manufacturing where they don't cut the prices so much, but where stuff is piling up. We've got luxury cars landing at the docks in Los Angeles and then just sitting there because no one can buy it. So, look, this is functionally a lot like the Great Depression. The thing about the Great Depression was they couldn't cut interest rates because they were already at zero. And guess what? 3-month Treasury bills are 0.02% interest rate right now. We're basically in those kind of conditions.
What do you have to do to sell a car now? What do you have to do to sell a house? I mean, it seems to me if you've got a Great Depression, what you want is consumption to go up, investment to go up, or government spending to go up. Is there any chance we can get consumption to go up? Because there are only three ways people spend money. Either consumers spend it, you and I, business spends, or the government spends. That's how spending works. Yeah. Is there any chance the consumer's going to start spending? This Christmas holiday season apparently is down, even with all the bargains out there. Is there any way to juice it up?
No, the thing is we were running on empty in terms of consumers anyway, right? We had a near zero savings rate. We had people living by using their houses as ATMs, and that's not going to work anymore. So consumption should not go up. People should be saving more. We were not in a good state. Investment won't go up until people see the demand, until businesses see that they're, with the shopping malls going vacant and with manufacturers having their plunging sales, who's going to invest in new factories? So it really is up to government. We're in a situation now where,
That's what Warren Buffett said a couple weeks ago. If the consumption is zero, is flat, and investment is zero, the only person, the only institution in American life capable of over-leveraging, of getting this economy rolling again, pumping the prime, priming the pump, is the federal government. Now, I've looked at some numbers. I've heard about them. We have a GDP in this country of about $13 trillion. That's our economic activity in this country. You put it over 3 years, that's $39 trillion. What good is a goose of a $1 trillion stimulus package against that kind of economic weight that's being held down, our economy?
No, but
$1 trillion, is it enough?
I'd say $600 billion for next year is probably at least most of the way there. We're probably going to have a deficit of $1 trillion. Look, we're not talking about an economy, as you say, we're not in the Great Depression, not yet. So we're not talking about 25% unemployed economy. We're talking about an economy that's going to be operating maybe 7-8% below what it should be producing, and that government spending can make a big dent in that gap. You can fill a lot of the hole, and then maybe we can have some investment. Consumers at least won't plunge as much as they otherwise would. No, it makes a huge difference if we can get that spending going.
One of the knocks on Franklin Roosevelt is he took office in March of 1933, and because it was the lame duck period still then, it hadn't come into becoming January 20th yet. It was 25% unemployment when he came in. Unemployment was still about 19% in 38, 5 years later. It took him a long time. It took World War II, Hitler and Tojo, to get us out of the Great Depression.
There's a lot of cherry picking going on there. Unemployment actually came down a lot from 33 to 37. And then in 37, Roosevelt listened to the wrong people who said, we should balance the budget, and he cut the WPA in half. He raised taxes, and unemployment went back up again in 38. So people say, oh, look, in 38 he hardly made any progress. He was actually doing pretty well up to 37.
Okay, let me just ask you the bottom line here, because we're trying to avoid a Great Depression, not to relive one. Hitler and Tojo forced us to spend a lot on production. In America's greatest, we became the arsenal of democracy, in Roosevelt's words, and we really saved the world from evil. But economically, if we'd spent that kind of money in 33 rather than 41 or 40, would we have been able to get out of the Depression? In other words, was it within the government's ability to end the Depression in, say, 33 and not wait for the war to get us out of it?
Oh, sure. There's nothing special that says that spending... What? No, I mean, there's nothing special that says that buying weapons, buying shells and explosives is more stimulative than building roads and repairing bridges. Any kind of spending would have done it. It was only under wartime conditions, though, that you could get the political will to do what amounted to the giant stimulus package that was needed. So the question right now, I think, is not can we do this, but can we persuade Congress to do it? Can we persuade Obama that he needs to go really big? That's the issue.
Well, one of the advantages, it seems to me, Paul, from a political perspective, is that when you have a really big problem, most people intuitively believe you have to have a big solution. And although there's some governors the other day in Philadelphia arguing what we need to do is balance the budget, the Hoover position, it seems to me that moderate Republicans will join Democrats in giving the president the power he needs to actually do something really big, because we have a really big problem. The unemployment rate this coming Friday, it's at 6.5. What do you think it's going to get to? I mean, if it gets over 7, aren't we going to be scared to death and start doing big stuff already?
Yeah, I don't know if it'll get over 7 this Friday, but that 6.5 was the unemployment rate for October. What we're going to hear about on Friday is the unemployment rate for November. And this economy is falling like a stone. This is really so we're going to go over 7, if not this week, 4 weeks later. It's going to happen, and I think that'll concentrate people's minds. But it is still. I mean, I'm still finding that even people you would think would be really pro, big economic recovery package say, so let's spend a lot of money. Let's spend $400 billion. And I say, $400 billion is not a lot of money, I'm sorry to say, given the kinds of problems we face. So it's still hard for people to wrap their minds around the scale of the thing we need to do.
Well, I hope you give
Paul,
I hope you give a Nobel speech like William Faulkner, which is we not only will survive, but we will prevail. Something not optimistic about America, I think, is called for. So check back and see what Faulkner said when he got his Nobel Prize. I hope it applies to the experts like you. Thank you very much.